Greetings and namaste. I'm Sydney Solis, the Queen of Bohemia in the Mythic Yoga Studio, which is in Boulder, Colorado right now. And I'm here with my father, Opas Straub, Albert Straub. And we have his grandchildren here. We've been visiting, and we value our elders. We want to take care of our elders and value the history that we learn from our elders. The stories of the past, to learn from the past, and also appreciate and witness their lives and all of our lives. So getting together with your elder grandpa, I mean, that's what it's all about. Familia, la familia, family. So, right, P, we have children gathered around who are going to listen to the story, and I encourage you to bring young children together with the elderly. Spellbinders.org is a fantastic organization that does bring senior citizens telling stories, folklore, with youth. So, and we have son Alejandro on the camera, so he will be listening to Opa's story. So here he is. Okay, so tell us about your ancestors going way back history, before you lived in the Dutch East Indies. So we have a Captain Straub, we have ancestors from the Netherlands, is that right? Who originally settled?
Yeah, they came to Indonesia by sailing around Cape of Good Hope of
Africa.
And from there they went to Indonesia. That's somewhere in the early 1700s. And that's how they started in Indonesia.
And that was a colony, right? I mean, basically for spices and then wasn't it he married a princess? What's the princess story? We have legends in our family.
Yeah, there's a little island east of Java that's called Madura. And that was a little kingdom actually, and there was also a princess, and one of my family managed to marry that princess. And so I got that blood in me also.
All right, so we have some
royal blood.
Beautiful, yes, we all have beautiful royal blood, the earth flowing through us.
Yeah.
And so what about your father? Was your father born on Java? What did he do?
My father was born in Java. I don't know that much about his family background, but he was kind of what they call here a stationary engineer. He took care of the machinery in the tea business, and later on also in the sugar business, where they make sugar from the sugar cane. And of course we loved that sugar cane, and so we used to sneak out of the house and cut the part of the bottom of the sugar cane. That's very sweet, and so we cut that off and then take the outside off, and we used to chew on that. That's delicious, you know. So, and but we are not supposed to do that, because in the sugar plants they often have these boa constrictors roaming around, and my mother was afraid that they would come too close to us, and we were small, so we would be a nice breakfast for us with pythons probably. And so she used to always, you know, she didn't really spank us, but she told us not to do it. And
This is Oma, your mother.
yeah, it's Oma.
Catherine Petronella Herringhausen Straub.
She was a Herringhausen.
House of the Herrings.
Herringhausen. And so
So, okay, that's like when you lived on the tea and sugar plantations. So your mother was,
she was also Dutch.
she was a teacher?
But she was born in Indonesia, actually on Java. And so when she met my father, they got married, and here I am.
So you're
And
born in Jombang?
I was born in a little town, Jombang, which is not a little town anymore, I think. But Jombang is south of Surabaya.
And what's your earliest memories? What was it like? Where was it located? What kind of house did you live in?
Well, it's a vague memory. We had a house we lived in, but we always had to close the house up and seal the doors, and because those houses were often on small piles, and sometimes you could hear like a panther coming, crawling on the doors. They were very quiet, but you could still hear them. And so we stayed inside for that. And the sugar plantation, or the tea plantation, I'll go back to that. They had these wild boars, they call them chellings, and they go in there too, and they attack those women or people that pluck these leaves for the tea. And they used to come running out of there, and they say, "Chelling, chelling, chelling." And so then my father and some of his friends from the plantation used to go in there and shoot the thing, and we all got a piece of that animal. So that's what I remember from that.
And I remember you telling us stories as children that you lived under the volcano Mount Merapi.
Oh yeah, at that time, yeah, that was with the tea plantation. We lived halfway up in Mount Merapi, and it was always kind of active, and once in a while we could get these ash rains down, and you could look up, and you got some lava coming down, and the ground used to shake with some small quakes, but the lava never came to us, so we weren't worried about that. However, now that it's erupting in full bore, where we were is all covered up by lava.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Fascinating. So how did you end up going, why did you move from Jombang, your family, to Yogyakarta to the sugar plantation?
Oh, that was when the war broke out. Then my dad and my uncle, we moved to that, they call it a house, but it's a big house, and it was a summer palace for the local, I forgot what they call it.
The Sultan?
Yeah, Sultan.
Sultan.
And he thought it was always spooky, and he wouldn't go in there. So we said, "Well, we don't believe in spook. Can we stay there for a while?" So they said, "Sure." So we went in there, and that was a big place. I mean, it's big. We had 55 rooms in the back, besides the 8 of the main bedrooms, and then we had the kitchen, and of course a back veranda in the back, and then they had these walls, and they were also, that's where the rooms were, and they were circling that backyard, that part of the backyard, and they used to have horses there, and when we played there, we had the bats coming out of those little bedrooms, you know, and they were all this slick kind of stone runs around the whole area, and also the outside of that area. And there were 2 exits and to the other side. And we used to always roller skate on that. By sitting down, and couldn't stand up with that yet. Sitting down, and we used to just push ourselves forward by our hands and our arms and hands. So that was a lot of fun for us. But then when the war continued, then my dad and my uncle were called in to fight the war, and and before they left, they took their cars and threw gasoline over it, and they burned them down, so they couldn't be used by the enemy. And at that time, they came around, and then our government told us to get out of there because from the air it could be thought of as a soldier's place, you know, caserna in Dutch, I don't know what it is. And so from there we moved to Yogyakarta.
Well, wasn't there a time when you were in the Sultans Palace that there was an air raid and you had to all hide underneath some mattresses under a garage?
Nobody lived there in a small place where
with your cousins, I remember you telling me.
Two families, my mother and her sister and her 3 kids, I think. And my 2 sisters and myself. And then when siren used to go off because they were coming in.
And how old were you?
Probably about 8 or something. And but the fallout shelter was across the street. It's like a catty corner across the street. And these Zeros used to come down lengthwise to the street and shoot whatever people were running. And I used to run as fast as I could, and I could hear the machine guns going off, and things hit around me, but they never hit me personally. And so I jumped into the fallout shelter, and so we did that game for a while. But I never got hurt. I never got hurt by that. And and from there, then the Japanese they won the war there, I guess.
Well, tell me about the last time you saw your father. He was captured at the Battle of Solo River with your uncle Emil.
Yeah.
Who was in the Death March of Bataan.
And then they were captured, my dad and my uncle. And then they were marching down the street, and my dad had this pure white hair, and so we could pick him out, and we saw march by, and that's the last time I saw him.
And how did your father die?
Well, then my father, they took him to Japan, and he had to work in the Mitsubishi mines as slave labor, and they were mistreated, tortured, and for all that, and he went through that once when he tried to get a little bit of snow. It was cold outside because he was so thirsty, and they punished him for that. And then after that, I think he then malnutrition and that kind of material.
We're gonna pause right here, and then we're gonna